You're listening to the Homeownership podcast by Movementum Realty, real estate talk for buying, selling, and owning property.
Hey guys, Sean Patrick Maloney here, broker owner of Movementum Realty, located in Hanover, Massachusetts. Welcome to episode 42, Working with a Buyer's Agent. I'm your host, Sean Patrick Maloney. Thanks for joining me this week. I want to talk to you about a really important subject, and that's working with a buyer's agent. Often in real estate, we drive around looking at homes, we check them out on Zillow, we check them out online, we look at papers, we look in the magazines, we look at everything. And the first thing people do is they reach out to the agent listed on that property. But this is actually the wrong way of going about it, because reality is when you reach out to that person, they actually represent the seller. And the seller's agent has an obligation to the seller to get them the best terms possible and the most money possible for their property. They can represent you in something called dual agency, but the reality is you should have a buyer's agent. A lot of times there's talk about what a buyer's agent costs and who pays for the costs. So we can talk about that in a few minutes here, but one thing to realize is most often the seller is actually going to take care of those costs. And even though they take care of those costs for your buyer's agent still owes you the same rights and opportunities. So let's go over that. There's an acronym called OLDCAR that helps us remember all the different things that a buyer's agent actually legally is obligated to provide you with. The first one is obedience, which means they actually have to listen to you. They have to do what you say. So remember, if you tell them bad advice, they actually have to listen to you. So not always do you want to be in charge as much as you want to make sure you watch out for yourself, but allow them to do their job. Next is loyalty. Loyalty means that they actually have to have your best interests in mind. They can't just go out and just try to make a deal happen. They actually have to be loyal to you. And then disclosure. Disclosure means that they have to tell you anything that they know that's materially wrong with the property that they know about. So this means if they find out about something, they have to tell you. Same thing on the other side with the seller's agent. They owe them all the same, especially the disclosure one. This one's commonly kind of misconstrued or misunderstood. If a seller tells the seller's agent about something, they actually have to tell your buyer's agent through the fact that they have to follow disclosure. So your buyer's agent's going to want to disclose things to you because they're going to want to tell you what's going on with the home and they're looking out for your best interest. On the word CAR, the first letter stands for confidentiality. So confidentiality is a really important subject here. Reason being, a lot of times when you're working, people are used to, in the sales process, kind of hiding information, not wanting people to know. Maybe you have a lot of money and you don't want them to know that you could afford full price. Or maybe you have a situation where you're getting divorced and you need to sell the home quick and you need to buy another home. Or maybe you have a situation where you need to get into that school system because the kids are going to school that year and you have to buy something that week. All these different points could bring out weaknesses in your ability to negotiate the sale. So that's why confidentiality is really important. Another thing is, when you're working with agents, sometimes they're friends and family and people get worried about, if I work with them, everyone's going to know my business. If they're a bad agent, maybe this is true, but most often because of the confidentiality side of things, they really can't tell people about it. Recently, I actually had a conversation with my mother where she was surprised that her sister was looking at homes. She said to me, how come you didn't tell me my sister was looking at homes? And I said, because I have to be confidential to her. And she's like, well, why can't I know? And I said, well, maybe she just didn't want you to know yet because she didn't want the social pressure of it. So understanding the social pressure of things, confidentiality is important to a lot of people. Even if it's not something that could actually hurt their negotiating points of things, it's more just the fact that they don't want the social pressure. Next is accountability. We're accountable for our actions as buyer's agents. We actually have to follow the rules, and if not, we can be held accountable for the fact that we don't. Which is nice to know that you can't just run off with the person's money or anything like that, and that there is accountability to the industry. So buyer's agents will be held to that. Last but not least, on OLDCAR would be reasonable care and diligence. So this means that we're actually going to do our job and not just fly through things. We're actually going to take our time, look all the way into stuff, and act as a professional. So through OLDCAR, you actually get a lot of understanding of exactly what they need to do and why they need to do it. And again, this is actually all legal. So this isn't just an acronym created by somebody that It was like, this is what the best ones will do. This is what they all should do. And if you ever work with an agent and they're not following this, then you should actually get rid of them. And if it's bad enough, you might even want to report them to the Board of Real Estate, because the reality is there's a lot of people in this industry, and if you're working with the right ones, they're going to take great care of you. Now let's get back to talking about the payment of the actual buyer's agent. This is one that's gone through court several times recently, and actually is an open lawsuit against some companies for misexplaining it. So I'm going to do my best. I'm not a lawyer, but I'm going to do my best to explain it. Most of the time, when we actually take on a listing agreement, we charge a certain percentage to the seller to sell the property. Within that percentage, we allow for something called cooperating compensation, which means we actually offer the other party money, being the buyer's agent, to actually come up with a buyer. We list this on the listing agreement as well as on the multiple listing services website, so that buyer's agents know how much we actually are willing to pay them to bring in a buyer. What this means is the seller does not get representation for it, but the seller's agent actually puts out money of their own money, so it's not the seller's money anymore, because the seller is paying the seller's agent for services, and then the seller's agent is therefore offering some of their compensation to find a buyer out there. So this is the most common way. But sometimes we have properties where either the property doesn't offer a large compensation big enough that the agent feels like it's sufficient to what they want to be paid, or sometimes even there's a for sale by owner or a new construction property where they're not offering any sort of buyer incentive. Then sometimes you'll see what's called the buyer's agency agreement form, and when you see that, you'll notice on there they'll be listed how much the buyer will actually have to pay for their compensation. So it's very important to remember when you're signing paperwork that you want to check out everything and see what exactly you're signing. You always should be signing at least one form when you go out to look at any given property with a new agent, and that's called the agency disclosure form. An agency disclosure form is just simply what it states, a disclosure. It tells you that you have rights to different agency. But the buyer's agency agreement form, that says that you're specifically going to be working with that buyer's agent, and it's going to either have specific properties in mind, specific land areas in mind, or a timeline in mind, where that's when, if you purchase a property, whether you use them or you don't, you're going to owe them a commission. Sometimes you'll notice listed there, it'll say the commission is as per MLS, which means that whatever's listed on the MLS system, that's what the buyer's agent's going to get paid. And other times you'll notice it'll say a flat rate compensation, which is how much they're expecting you're going to pay no matter which property. Or other times it'll say a percentage, and that percentage will say as per MLS or up to, and it'll have the other number. So what this means is if the MLS says the agent gets paid 1% and the agent has listed there 2.5%, it means that you, the buyer, are going to have to pay 1.5% towards the actual commission costs of a buyer's agent. So keep that in mind when signing paperwork. Most often here at Movementum Realty, we don't typically do this, except for when we're representing a buyer that's looking at a property that doesn't offer compensation. Typically, if a property offers compensation, even though it's not exactly how much we want, we usually are okay and stick with that one. But when we want to show you properties such as for sale by owners and things that aren't offering pay, we obviously do need to put something in place there. So once you get settled with all this, the next thing to do is to actually choose a buyer's agent. That can be done as easily as calling here over at Movementum Realty. We can set you up with a referral out of state, out of country, or we can work with you right here in the state of Massachusetts. There's some other ways that you can do, like going on to Google and typing in a search query looking for local agents. You can also go on Zillow and use their agent finder tool and read past reviews and see who's doing a lot in the business. But once you've chosen a buyer's agent, you really want to work with them and work as a team. First thing you want to do is give them a copy of a pre-approval letter. If you don't have a pre-approval letter yet, no big deal. They can help you. They can refer you to a couple different bankers and loan experts that can get you set up with the proper paperwork. You want to remember, if you're serious about shopping for a home, you want the pre-approval up front. That way there, you know you're looking at the right price homes, and that you're not just spending time either at too expensive of homes or not looking at a high enough priced home because you actually qualify for more. The other thing is, if you see a property you like and you go to make an offer on it and you don't have a pre-approval, it's not going to get accepted. That can be really stressful when you have a fast-moving marketplace and you finally find the one you like and then you can't make an offer because you don't have a pre-approval and the banker isn't in at the time you're actually looking for that pre-approval. I've seen this happen so many times I can't even tell you. I always tell the people we need to get that pre-approval and they always assure me, we'll get one, don't worry, in time, we're going to get it. And then boom, the house they love comes up and then right after it, the market goes flat and they don't find what they want. So don't try to defend yourself. There is no information on a pre-approval that'll compromise you at all. It just tells them what % rate you have, how many year term you have, what type of loan it is, what your payment will be, and how much your max budget is. There is zero information as far as social security numbers or anything that could compromise you. So there's no reason you shouldn't be able to share this with your agent because your agent really wants to work for your best interest. So knowing your budget will really help them do that. Once you're working with a buyer's agent, you want to remember to remind all other agents that you have an agent. As soon as you walk in an open house, you want to tell them, I have an agent. You can even get cards from your agent, some of their business cards, so that when you go by open houses, you just drop it and don't even sign in. This helps with cutting down on the amount of harassment that goes on. When you go out to open house after open house and you sign in, you put your phone number down, you're going to consistently get calls asking you if you'd like to work with someone, if you like the home and everything. So by dropping your agent's cards, you can give them all those calls and they'll do all the follow-up for you. The other thing you want to do is always set up showings with the agent. This is something that's kind of funny. People always, I hear in the market, oh my God, agents are overpaid. And then same time you talk with people and they're like, I don't want to bother you for a showing right now. And it's like, so you think I'm overpaid, but you don't want to bother me to go out and do my job. So make sure you take advantage of your agent. When I say take advantage, I don't mean take advantage in a negative way. I mean take advantage as far as getting a private showing and not waiting for Sunday's open house can mean the difference between seeing the property and finding out it went under agreement while you're sitting there waiting for an open house on the weekend. Showings are an important part of the business, and any great agent's going to know we want to show you multiple properties so that we know you got the right one and that you're going to be happy with the property you have. Showings are really easy to set up, especially in this modern day world with cell phones and texting. We usually can do them, but try to give about 24 hours notice if you can. If you can't, that's understandable and we'll see what we can do, but most often the sellers themselves, because they're living in the home, typically want about 24 hours. That way they can clean the home or they can plan to make dinner ahead or go out to dinner, whatever they need to do to make their schedule work. But again, make sure you reach out to your agent and get the showings through them. Never reach out to a seller's agent, get a showing from them, and then tell them at the showing that you have a buyer's agent. You can do it in an open house where you say I have an agent, but don't call in a private showing one-on-one with another agent. This will put you in a situation where they'll want to be your agent now and they'll want to act as a dual agent, and it'll create an argument for your agent telling them that they have an agent because the other agent's going to say, well, then why did they reach out to me? So just make sure you always reach out to your agent for the showings. Another great part of working with a buyer's agent is the fact that they can recommend people. Whether it be a home inspector, mortgage professional, insurance agents, contractors, and all these different things, great part of working with them is they have accrued a whole list of people over time that they like working with that can work with you with your best interests in mind. Make sure you let your agent know, though, if you're looking for the cheapest, because quite commonly we don't always just recommend the cheapest. We actually try to think about who's going to get the job done correctly. Sometimes people come in, they just want you to give them a recommendation of who's the least cost person. Make sure you say that to your agent, just so that they understand you're not concerned about quality, you're concerned about quantity. You're concerned that you don't want to spend a ton of money, because sometimes when we give a recommendation and the person does a home run type job, amazing work, and then come to find out that the person's mad that they wanted something cheaper, it's easier if that was just said right at the beginning. And with recommendations, most agents will usually give you 3 or 4, so make sure you reach out to each one and figure out which one works best for you. Another benefit of working with a buyer's agent is when you go to home inspection. If you go to home inspection and you're not working with the buyer's agent, you're working with the seller's agent who's in dual agency, it's really their main goal to just get things done, which can lead to you feeling like you didn't get to negotiate when something goes wrong at the home inspection. The other thing is having an agent there to work with you at the home inspection can ease a little bit of the nerve feeling. They can explain the process. They can tell you this is normal, this isn't normal, we should be concerned, we shouldn't be concerned, as well as, like I said before, they can do recommendations and actually recommend you a good home inspector. After that home inspection, or during the process of making an offer, Another great part of having an agent is the negotiations. A lot of people get nervous when it comes to saying awkward things, but the reality of a good buyer's agent is we really don't care. We're not worried about hurting people's feelings. We're not worried about making comments that may make awkward air. We're there for business, and sometimes that means saying those awkward things. A great buyer's agent's going to negotiate for you the entire way, whether it be the right closing date, the right price, the right repairs, whatever it needs to be. They're going to step in and they're going to do those awkward air type moments, and you're going to sit there and enjoy the benefits of having a great agent. So negotiation is one that you really want to make sure your agent's great at. I really pride myself on my negotiations because I've done it so many different times. I know what's practical. I know what people are going to do. I don't allow emotion to come in. As a buyer, when you're sitting there and you've already spent $500 on a home inspection and you're already 10 or so days into the transaction, it's really scary for you to sit there and say, okay, well, I'm going to be demanding right now. You tend to want to cower down and just go with the flow so that the deal doesn't blow up. But working with an agent that's gone through the process, they know when to pull back and when to push forward so they can get you the most. Another key benefit to buyer's agents is most of them have a great big network of people. I know I said referrals, but also network as far as things like where to shop and who to talk to and around town, maybe the school department, other businesses like restaurants. They know everybody. They tend to be busy all day long, moving around town, eating lunch at places, so you can use their network. A lot of them are able to tell you the best of everything that you want to do, as well as they're able to tell you the cool spots to maybe go for a walk, go for a swim, where you can get the library books, all that different stuff. So make sure you reach out to them when you're working with a buyer's agent for their network. It will really help you, especially if you're moving into a town where you've never lived before and you really don't have a network set up at all. Representation is a really important thing to have in a real estate transaction. A lot of these different things that we've been talking about here, people try to take them on themselves. They want to read on the internet how to do something, or they want to watch a YouTube video and be an expert. The reality is, after 11 years of doing this, I see new situations all the time. And working with my clients over the years, I've become better and better at representation every single time because I learned through everything that has been done in the past. So make sure that when you're thinking about working and buying a home, you do get yourself representation. Another thing that comes with a great agent would be aftercare. After you buy the home, you're having little things go on and everything again. You can reach back out to them. They can tell you that whether it's normal or not. They can give you those referrals, and they can get you on the right path so that you're not wasting time, money, or energy. Last but not least, another thing that's great about working with a good buyer's agent is they now know the property. And when it does come time to resell the property, they're going to know what it's worth. They're going to know more about the home, and they're going to be ready to help you sell that home and move into your next home. If you're looking for a buyer's agent and you're working in the state of Massachusetts, we can definitely assign you one right here at Movementum Realty. Or if you're looking outside the state, as well as anywhere in the world, we can actually set you up with a referral. We'll do all the homework for you, make sure you have a great agent, and we'll also stay through the whole entire transaction to put the pressure on them that they need if they're not doing what you want. You can just reach out to us, no awkward air, and we'll take care of the awkwardness for you. Just recently worked a deal with a client in the state of New York, and it went excellent for him, and he really was appreciative of it. So if you're thinking about that, feel free to reach out to us. Thanks for listening to the podcast this week. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to reach out to me directly. Make sure to follow the podcast, and we look forward to talking to you next week.